Hello, everyone, and thank you for coming to today's Play Attention webinar. My name is Gwen Sorley, and I will be your host today. I really do appreciate you taking some time out today to learn a little bit more about play attention and how you can incorporate this into your practice or your educational center to enhance executive function. Just a couple of notes before we get started. My background is in education. I have a master's in education, and I started using play attention with my students back in 1996. So I've been using play attention privately, professionally for about 31 years. I'm sorry, 29 years. Play attention's been available for about 31, but I've been using it for about 29 years. And I've used play attention with every age from about 5 years old all the way up through adulthood. So hopefully my experiences using play attention in a few different professional settings and also with lots of different individuals will give you a better understanding of the program and the process and how you can incorporate play attention into your current setting. Because you want to know who can benefit from play attention. We do recommend that the client is at least 5 years old, but you can work on up through adulthood. Now, the reason we recommend that they're at least 5 years old is because they really do need to make the connections between what they're personally doing and what's appearing on screen. They have to be developmentally at that point where they can make those connections. And usually that's right around the age of 5 years old. But we can continue to customize plans throughout one's lifetime. So we do work with many adults as well. As I mentioned, I've been using play attention for many years. And it's been an interesting shift. And some of you who are working professionally have probably seen this shift in your own practice. And what we have seen is that our largest client base now are adults between the ages of 45 and 75. Now, there's a lot of reasons for that, but it has been an interesting shift. So I want you to be aware that it is appropriate for children, teens, and adults. Okay. And now, when we chat, we're really going to probably bring up the term ADHD quite a bit, but I want you to know that play attention is really effective for anyone who is struggling with those cognitive skills that are required for executive function. And as you know, there are many factors that can inhibit that development of executive function or negatively impact executive function. So we do work with individuals who have ADHD or autism, anxiety, post-traumatic stress, traumatic brain injury. We've had amazing results with individuals who have dementia or Alzheimer's, those individuals who have lost certain cognitive abilities due to stroke. So there are a lot of different factors that can, as I said, really negatively impact one's executive function. And what we always want to keep in mind is what we know through neuroplasticity, that the brain is moldable, it's shapeable. And if we provide your clients with the right challenge and that immediate feedback, they can create these new neural pathways that are required for executive function. We know age is not a factor. We also know that labels are not a factor. If we provide your clients with the right challenge and that immediate feedback, they can create those new neural pathways required. So, what is going to really set play attention apart from any other program out there? And when you incorporate play attention into your practice, it's going to set you apart too. So, play attention is very unique in that it's the only program available that integrates feedback technology with cognitive skill training and behavior shaping to provide you with the most comprehensive approach available. So you may have already seen our body wave armband. This is our body wave armband. On the back of that armband, there are 3 sensors. When I slide this armband on my arm, Now, those sensors are monitoring my brain activity that tells us how attentive I am. And then that information is given over to the computer where I'm allowed to control all of the cognitive exercises just with my mind, or more specifically, my attention alone. And I receive constant and immediate feedback as to whether or not I truly am focused and paying attention. And that is amazing. It is the most important part of the learning process because I am certain if you are incorporating other therapies or modalities, you always try to provide your clients with an experience, right? To help them with their learning process, to help them assimilate new skills. And so it's very difficult to do with attention, right? Because attention's so abstract. How do we usually try to teach attention? Usually we try to teach attention by saying, pay attention. I need you to pay attention. Sit still. Eyes on me. Pay attention. We try to tell them what to do. But now we can also offer them an experience. That's the power of neurotechnology. It's monitoring that brain activity so that we can provide them that real-time feedback. Now they see their attention, they feel what they're doing, they practice not only attention, because attention's just the tip of the iceberg, but lots of different cognitive skills. So it is critically important to understand that integration that play attention does, that integration of feedback technology with cognitive skill training and behavior shaping. That's what really makes us unique and effective. So when you're thinking about what you currently offer your clients, just think about how this can really not replace what you currently do, but enhance the services that you provide currently. Play attention is going to provide you with a systematic way to develop the foundational cognitive skills like attention, filtering distractions, working memory, auditory processing, impulse control, all of those foundational cognitive skills that are difficult to teach. We're going to give you a systematic, customized way to teach those skills so that you can improve executive function. Many of you here are probably doing some uh, types of talk therapy. And talk therapy is great. You give them that time, and also you provide them with lots of strategies and tips. And we want them to have tips and strategies. But how much more effective would those tips and strategies be if you were simultaneously getting to the root cause and helping them develop those cognitive skills that they need in order to implement all of those strategies you are giving them? So if you think about, let's just look at one area of executive function. One area we often get questions about, that mental process of emotion regulation. So many individuals, both children and adults, are really struggling with emotion regulation. So how do we develop that? There are a lot of great techniques and a lot of strategies you can provide your clients. You may teach them how to do some breathing exercises. You may give them some grounding exercises. There are a lot of techniques you're probably using. But then do you find in the heat of the moment, they're not implementing those strategies? And that's because in order to really use the strategies you're teaching them, they have to first be able to pay attention to the entire situation. They need to be able to process all of the information. They need to control their impulsivity so that they're not just impulsively responding with the first emotion that comes to mind. We also have to improve their ability to stay in the present moment. So when they're in that emotional time, that internal dialogue doesn't derail them. And we also have to improve their memory so that they can draw on prior experiences. They can remember the sessions you've had with them and what you've taught them so that they can evaluate the best response. So, in the heat of the moment, we want them to have those strategies, but we also need to develop those skills: sustained attention, impulse control, processing speed, mindfulness, working memory, so that they can have that cognitive control and use everything that you've been giving them to support them. And that's what play attention can do. It can get to the root cause and start developing those skills. Now, as I mentioned when we started, we've been doing this integration of feedback technology with cognitive skill training and behavior shaping for about 31 years. So we have a long-standing history in the field of neurocognitive training. And Tufts University School of Medicine wanted to know, is that integration that we do, is that important? Or can we simply give your clients a series of cognitive exercises, or what you hear a lot about as brain games or brain training apps, and get the same results? So they had three different groups of individuals, all identified as ADHD. The first group received play attention, so they had full integration. The second received just cognitive exercises, so brain games on the computer, no feedback technology, and no behavior shaping. And the third was their control, and they received no intervention at all. And at the end of the study, the play attention individuals were the only group that showed global improvements in all areas, including academic, social, behavioral, and executive function. And that's the really important part to remember, that global improvement. This means they didn't just get better in the exercises, right? Because a lot of times you hear how brain games or brain training apps, you get better at the games, but not necessarily in life, right? And so this showed global improvements in all areas: academic, social, behavioral, and executive function. And so that is a really important piece to remember, that we are working constantly on that transfer and generalization of the skills learned and the permanency of those skills. What they also found during that study is that some of the clients that they worked with were on medication, some of them were not. But if they were on medication and in the play attention group, those individuals had an average decrease in their medication, where the other two groups had an average increase. And that goes back to skill building. You can use play attention whether you're on medication or not on medication. Medication does work for some people by controlling symptoms. The difficulty is, and I'm sure many of you professionals have seen this with your clients, the difficulty being that medication does not teach any skills and it does not change behaviors. So we don't want to medicate and fail to educate. We want to use this time to help them develop skills. And that's what play attention can do. It can teach the skills that medication alone cannot teach. So now when you're thinking about your clients, we always want to make certain that we customize everyone's plan. And you're going to be assigned a focus coach. That's one of our coaches here on staff to assist you every step of the way. And the very first thing we do is teach you how to customize each client's plan so that you can make certain you're meeting their needs and growing with them. So now many of you here may already use an assessment tool. So you may actually do neurocognitive assessments. You may already have the Basque or the Vanderbilt or a variety of testing materials that you may be using in order to decide which cognitive skills are best. And if you are already doing that, if you're already using an assessment tool, great. What we can do, what your focus coach can do with you, is teach you how to take those results and then look at all of the cognitive skills that are in play attention and how to use those results in order to customize their plan. That's where we're going to pinpoint which areas are most important for each client. Is it attention stamina? Is it filtering distractions, task completion? Usually what I like to do is prioritize. We have a lot of different cognitive skills we can address, but what I like to do initially is prioritize. Let's pick our top 7 and then work from there. I find that 7 is a good number so that we're not overwhelming your clients with too many things to work on. And also, that number, if we're doing 6 or 7 cognitive exercises, they're going to see some growth. They're going to move from beginner to intermediate before we start actually introducing more cognitive skills. So that's going to be your starting point. How are you going to assess their needs? Like I said, many of you here may already be doing your own evaluations. Fantastic. We'll teach you how to take that information and incorporate it into play attention, because that's sometimes the missing link. I talk to a lot of parents and some adults who are looking into play attention, and they say, I have this 23-page neuropsych evaluation which tells me all of the areas where I'm struggling. But now what? Now what do we do? So we take this information to create that roadmap. And we also have a couple of assessments we use that are optional. One is called Focus. Focus is a norm reference test of attentional control. It's computer based. It's a CPT, so a continuous performance test. It takes 20 minutes. And at the end of the 20 minutes, we receive a full report that tells us how your client performed compared to the performance of their peers. And we look at 4 different constructs. We look at consistency, performance, impulse control, and their ability to deal with distractors, both auditory and visual. So this is an objective assessment. It's data driven. So if you are interested in looking at a CPT, if you're not using one currently, and you want to learn more, you can go ahead and type focus in the chat box, and I'll make certain that I reach out to you, or one of the advisors here reaches out to you to talk about that focus assessment. That is a third-party assessment tool that we use quite often, and you can actually go through their accreditation process through us. And we also often offer the brief assessment. Some of you may be familiar with that. The brief assessment is a behavior rating inventory of executive function, also a third-party assessment tool. I often like to use both of those in conjunction with each other, because then we have the objective assessment, we have the more subjective based on experience and observation, and I like to use these as pre, mid, and post evaluations. Pre-assessments allows us to set up their curriculum to start, mid so that we can further refine and document progress, and then post when we're looking at graduation. Because there is a graduation period with play attention. Typically, we do recommend you work at least an hour per week with each client. If you're working professionally, usually our professional clients tend to do 2 30-minute sessions. And if you're doing a 30-minute session, that means that they'll do about 5 different exercises during that session. And you'll start to see good results after about 6 weeks of consistent training. You'll get reports back that they are more focused, that they were given 3 verbal instructions and they were able to follow through without being redirected or reminded. Your adult clients will say they're much more productive. They're not so exhausted at the end of the day. So you're going to start seeing those small steps of improvement. But the research shows, in order to gain permanency, in order for us to know that not only will they have these skills now, but throughout their lifetime, that usually takes about 40 hours total. So if you're working that hour per week, I would plan on, before you're taking that post evaluation, in order to determine if they've applied, they've reached the advanced levels, and they've transferred and generalized all of these skills, we're looking at training to about the 40-hour mark on play attention itself. And again, your focus coach is here to assist you with this entire process. Now, when we're looking at the different cognitive skills that we can incorporate into their program, we do have a variety of skills. The core foundational skills, this is what we consider the foundations of executive function that comes with everyone's program. That is attention stamina. What you're teaching there is how to direct and sustain your attention to low stimuli at will, much like being able to pay attention to the teacher in the classroom or your colleagues in the workplace. Visual tracking, that's a great one. If the teacher's ever said, he does great when I stand right next to him, but as soon as I walk away, he's out the window and out the door. And then he has that diffused attention where he's paying attention to a little bit of everything. And then we work on task completion. That is a probably one of our most popular ones. Task completion for your adults, those adults that come to you and they say, I start a million things, I finish nothing. Or I've been busy all day long, but at the end of the day, I've got nothing done. So this is teaching how to start and complete. Or if you're working with teenagers or younger students, that 15-minute homework assignment that takes 2 or 3 hours. That is a great one to use to help develop that skill. Short-term memory, the ability to remember dates, names, facts. Discriminatory processing is the ability to filter distractions, both auditory and visual. And of course, all of these have an educational correlate to ensure that transfer and generalization. But we also have a key component that's called academic bridge. An academic bridge is going to allow them to actually do real work while connected to that body wave armband. And I'm going to go into that a little bit more in just a little bit. Now, in addition to the foundations of executive function, we also have a variety of masterclass modules available. And these are add-ons that you can pick and choose from and add into your program at any time. Working memory is probably our most popular in our masterclass suite. Working memory is that ability to take in information, hold that information in order to complete a task. So basically, it helps us with everything we do every single day, from going to the store and trying to remember those 5 items you were going to pick up to reading comprehension and problem solving. So that is an important one for both children and adults. Spatial memory, remembering where things are located. So if your client reports that they are constantly losing items, their keys, their wallet, their phone, that is a great one. Remembering where things are located. Auditory processing is the ability to follow through with multiple step verbal instructions. Social skills. This one is the ability to pick up social cues. So, a lot of your clients have a hard time with peer relationships because they're simply not paying attention to the other person. They miss the look, they miss the shake of the head. So, social skills is going to teach them how to pay attention to that other person long enough to process the information, control their impulsive response, and then respond thoughtfully. Okay, so that is a really good one for anyone who has that challenge. Hand-eye coordination is more about small motor control, so handwriting, keyboarding, motor skills. If your client says, I am clumsy, they have more bumps, bruises, accidents than their peers, helps with that mind-body coordination. We do have mental math for younger kids, both first grade and second grade addition and subtraction math facts, because those parents are coming to you and saying, he knew his math facts inside and out yesterday. Today, he went into the test and he didn't know any of them. So that consistency, being able to hold on to those math facts, that is a really good one. Again, first and second grade addition and subtraction. And then mindfulness. Mindfulness is so important, and we hear about it all the time. And we hear how mindfulness helps with the symptoms of ADHD, which is true. However, it's very challenging for all of us, but especially if you have that running mind. So what neurotechnology allows us to do is actually give you a visual representation of what it means to be in the present moment. So in this particular exercise, you'll see a lotus flower in the middle of the screen. Once you have your mind in the present moment, you're able to start opening the petal on the flower. If you start thinking, when's my next appointment? Who do I have to call? What do I have to pick up at the store? That petal starts to close because you're no longer present and you have to bring yourself back in order to continue. So we're really enhancing that mindfulness practice, not just saying distractions will happen, accept that and let them go. You're actually giving them that visual representation and feedback to help them develop that skill. Now, remember, when you're looking at all of those different cognitive skills, every single cognitive exercise is brain enabled. So whether they're working on attention stamina or working memory or social skills, they have to be paying attention. Because remember, they are wearing the body wave armband while they're doing the session. You can't do a session without that body wave armband. That body wave armband is monitoring their attention. So as long as they're paying attention, then the activity will start and the character will move in the right direction, or it will continue the activity depending on what you're working in. So, as long as you're paying attention, you can activate the activity. If you lose your attention, if you're distracted or anxious, you have that internal dialogue, the activity will stop. The character will go in the wrong direction, and they have to focus back in order to continue. So all of these exercises, they're just not brain training. We are integrating those cognitive exercises with real-time feedback because we know the very first catalyst necessary for brain change is attention. They can have a great teacher. You can be a fantastic counselor. But if they're having a hard time paying attention to you or the individual or the process, then it's hard to get maximum benefit. So that's why we make certain that no matter what they're working on, they are actively engaged. Now, there are a lot of features that are automated for you. So, although it's a very systematic approach and there's a lot of steps, we automate those steps for you to make certain that you have the best program in place possible. So, when they first log in, they're going to actually see a review screen. Sheer Genius, our artificial intelligence, is going to show them this is what you did last time because every great lesson starts with review. So that really will help them transition into today's session. So it automatically pops up right away a review of their last session. We also have a behavior shaping module. And so you're going to incorporate this and it will pop up automatically if you've turned it on for that client. And that's where we're going to work on helping them extinguish self-distracting behaviors like skin picking, nail biting, chewing on their shirt, those different types of behaviors that many times they may be absolutely unaware that they're doing. But in doing the exercises, if they get that real time feedback regarding their attention and they start a self distracting behavior, they get a one-to-one correlation on how that behavior affects their attention. And you're going to use that to help them start to control those behaviors not conducive to good attention. No longer us telling them what to do, what not to do. We're guiding them through the process with neurotechnology. And not only will you be able to set that up in their profile, but Sheer Genius, once you get started, is going to set behavioral goals based on their progress. Now, every single exercise is also going to have a game goal based on previous performance. So we also know, in addition to attention being a critical catalyst when we're looking at brain change, we also know that the deliberate practice model is essential in brain change. That means you don't want your clients just coming in and going through the motions. They have to have a very specific goal in order to help them achieve higher levels of performance. So Sheer Genius, the artificial intelligence, is not only going to set the curriculum for the day, but also set a mini goal for each exercise. And I'm going to take a moment after we go through all of these features and show these to you so you can really get a visual representation of what this looks like in your practice. So you're going to have a game goal, and that will prompt you to review the objective, not only the goal, but the objective. Remember when I said attention stamina, this is going to teach me how to direct and sustain my attention at will, much like being able to pay attention to the teacher in the classroom. So that is teaching me how to transfer and generalize this skill. So every single exercise has an educational correlate. So you want to review that objective so they know the why. They understand how they're going to apply these skills. There's also a lot of data that is stored for you. Immediately after each exercise, you're going to get a data report. that we're going to use to not only document progress, but to set those goals and to watch for certain benchmarks to move them from beginner to intermediate to advanced. And then there's a section where you, as their play attention coach, can actually go in and graph all of the data automatically. Then there's a full rewards program as well, so that you can incorporate rewards into your program so that when they do reach certain goals, they can purchase rewards within their play attention program. And that's all stored for you by that AI. And then there's always time for reflection. So the exercises or the session for the day, I should say, starts with a review of last session. And then at the very end, when you log out, it's going to give your client a journal and it's going to ask your client what they did well, what they were proud of, what they learned. And so that is a really important time to help them start learning how to think about their own thinking, right? Develop that metacognition and start assimilating these skills that they're learning. And it, of course, launches them into the next session because we're going to use those reflections when we start the next session and we review the previous session. Also, there are several features that you can use within your practice to continue their success. As I mentioned, there is Sheer Genius, the artificial intelligence that's constantly customizing each client's program based on their success, based on specifically what they need. There's also a circle of success where if you have lots of individuals who are working with this particular client, the client may have a mentor or grandparents or teachers or colleagues who are also involved in their learning process. And if you have other individuals that you need to communicate with as far as what you're working on and how they're progressing, so that others in that circle can positively reinforce when they see that transfer and generalization, there's a full circle of success where you can incorporate those individuals into your program and you can easily send each individual a progress report right from your play attention program. The reports generation, we just touched on that, setting up rewards. And not only can they purchase rewards with their play attention points, but you can gift rewards and points as well, just as a little bit more reinforcement. Now, I mentioned that I was going to touch on Academic Bridge because this is a really important enhancement to your play attention sessions. This is where you're going to ask your clients to take all of the skills they've learned within play attention and apply them. So you notice here that my client is working on his course, but he's wearing that body wave armband. And as long as he is paying attention to his coursework, he's going to hear from the computer, good, great. If he starts to drift, he'll hear focus, and then he knows he's not in that state he needs to be in. So this is where we're taking all of the skills they've learned and applying them, helping them develop self-regulation while doing the actual academic task or work task. I have one client that I've been working with, and she is an English teacher, and she was struggling with grading papers. She said she was spending her entire weekend, 2 days on the weekend, just to get through grading papers. And it's not because she didn't know how to grade papers, right? She knew how. She's a great teacher. It was just that process that was so difficult. So we started incorporating the neurotechnology, that academic bridge, while she was grading papers. And what she learned was amazing. She started learning what in her environment was distracting her that she never noticed before. She was doing certain things, certain techniques she thought they were helping her. And we discovered through real-time feedback that they weren't helping her. And then she also developed that self-regulation so that she was better able to recognize when she started getting off task, and she knew how to bring herself back because she had that opportunity in her regular play attention session to learn how to redirect and how to self-regulate. So really important. And through that process, she went through spending 2 days on the weekend to grade papers to 2 hours on the weekend. Significant changes when we can help them develop those skills and learn how to apply. Another enhancement that you can offer your clients are supplemental mindfulness practices. Because I did mention our one lotus exercise that you can incorporate into your practice, but we also have 4 different mindfulness apps that you can use as supplements. And I am happy to share all of those with you. We have Lotus Advance, Da Vinci's Candle Expanded Awareness, where we're teaching them how to be mindful, but also environmentally aware. And we have a mindful media application, which is amazing because it allows you to actually import different types of media. It can be a video, it can be an audio file. And as long as you're in the present moment, you can listen to that audio file or watch that video. If you start that internal dialogue or getting less mindful, then the video will stop and you have to bring yourself back in order to continue. So you're only able to work with your audio file or your media while you are actually present. Okay, these are just supplements that you can incorporate and enhance your play attention program. So let's go ahead. I've talked a lot about what's incorporated into the play attention program, but I do want to give you a firsthand look. I know that some of you here today have seen play attention in action in previous webinars or at a consultation, but I do want, for those of you who have not yet seen play attention in action, I want you to at least get a glimpse of everything we just talked about and what it looks like firsthand. So I'm going to switch my sharing here and actually share my play attention interface now. And you'll see here that this is the main dashboard. Here are all of the different cognitive skills. I'm showing you most of them. There are some others that aren't on here, but these are most of our modules that we just talked about. And remember, when your client actually logs in, if they're doing a 30-minute session for you, Sheer Genius is going to select 5 different exercises. So they're not going to see all of these because, again, that can be overwhelming. They're just going to see the 5 that they're going to do that day, okay? And each cognitive exercise has a beginner, intermediate, and advanced skill option. All of the beginner exercises end in about 5 minutes. There are a couple that have a little bit different time measurement, but most of the beginner exercises end after 5 minutes. So let's go ahead and I'm going to share with you one of our exercises that we've talked about here a little bit already. And this is attention stamina. Remember, teaching you how to direct and sustain your attention to low stimuli at will. And I can choose from different characters, but one is this diver. Now, remember, I have that body wave armband on that's monitoring my brain activity because you're allowing your clients to activate all of the exercises with their attention alone so that they can have that experience of what it means to pay attention. So now I'm going to click play. And when you first see the next screen, it's going to be a transition screen. So in a moment, you're going to see your game is loading. And this is just simply helping me transition from our conversation into the actual exercise itself. I'm going to turn my volume down just a little bit. Now you notice my character is at the top of the screen and my attention meter is white because I'm not paying attention. I'm distracted. I'm talking to you. So now I'm going to stop our conversation and I'm going to focus in. Once I'm paying attention, I'm going to be able to swim him all the way down to the bottom of the ocean just with my attention alone. Okay, if I get distracted, I'm going to start seeing him float up and I have to focus back in order to continue. So now I'm going to stop our conversation. Now that's as low as he goes right there. Notice what happened as soon as I got off task. Immediately he starts to float up because I'm no longer as attentive. And distraction can be a variety of things. It could be daydreaming, it could be anxiety, it could be someone walking into the room and I can't filter that noise. It could be that behavior we talked about earlier, skin picking or fidgeting. Immediately I get that feedback. Now I know I have to control that behavior, control that daydreaming, focus in. So you see, it's kind of like a piece of exercise equipment for the brain. We're working areas right now that are weak for your clients. And when you can provide them with that constant and immediate feedback regarding their attention, they're then able to develop the self-regulation and self-monitoring they need in order to recognize when they're paying attention, recognize when they're not paying attention, and more importantly, when they're not, they'll know how to correct it because you've given them an opportunity to actually practice it. Now, you noticed our graphics. That's about as exciting as our graphics get. All of our graphics are very simple. They are very low stimuli. And the reason we do this is because we know if we give your clients something high stimuli or high interest, they can hyper focus in those situations. We don't need to teach them how to pay attention to entertainment or high interest. They've got that. What we need to teach is what's more challenging, and that's how to pay attention to low stimuli, much like the classroom teacher or the workplace that cannot possibly compete. So now let's look at the data because this is really important for you as a clinician or an educator. You want to know how to document and show progress. So here, all of my data is stored for me. It tells me that I worked for 1 minute and 21 seconds. Of that time, I was actually paying attention 37% of the time. And my recovery speed, which is from the time I lost my attention to the time I regained it, was almost a full 13 seconds. Now, sheer genius, the artificial intelligence is then going to use that information to start setting those mini goals that we talked about. So the next time I log in, sheer genius will say, yesterday you completed this with 37% attention. Today, let's try that 39%. And if you do that, you earn a point, and the point goes into your reward system. So again, remember all of those features I mentioned. Here you see how they are all automated and incorporated for you. And then Sheer Genius is also going to watch for certain benchmarks. And when they reach certain benchmarks, we're going to move them up automatically from bronze to silver to gold. And when we move them up, we're going to tie in more processes required for executive function, such as processing speed, impulse control, distractors, and mental flexibility. So it gets a little bit more complex. As they move up, they're going to have to respond using the mouse or the keyboard, but they're still driving everything with their attention. Okay, so let's go back again. You're going to have your main menu screen, but I want to show you some of the other features where you can actually create your users. So this is your interface that you'll be using as an administrator to create your new clients. And you see one of my clients here, if I click, I can see all of their sessions so far. I can review individual sessions if I'd like, and I can click here to edit that student. And remember, your focus coach is going to teach you and any staff members how to manage this, how to set up their curriculum. And so there are a lot of features that you can turn on and off. Then also down here, here's the circle of success that we mentioned, where you can actually add some of their contacts. It might be a mentor or a colleague that you put into that information where you can just easily send them email updates. We also have the sheer genius settings, and this is where you're going to highlight in blue all of the cognitive exercises you want to incorporate for that client. So again, I have lots available to me here, but I narrowed it down for this particular client to my top 5. Okay. And Academic Bridge, here's where you can actually put in what activities they're going to be working on. So you can document not only how attentive they were when they were doing their work, whether it be their classwork or their office work, but specifically, what was the work entailed? Okay, so that's where you're going to create and manage all of your clients. And then here we can look at all of the reports over time. And this is just a demonstration student. So I don't have a lot of data here, but you can see you do get a lot of information. You get an overview of their progress. You can even request a progress review if you want your focus coach to review that client's data with you, talk about progress, help you set objectives. But all of their data will be generated here so that you can see individual data points. You can also do correlation data between different data points, like their duration played compared to their attention, or even different cognitive exercises. How are they progressing in attention stamina compared to working memory? So lots of data. You can zip it up into a PDF or also export it into a CSV file if you'd like. So there are so many features here that are available to you so that you can make certain that not only do you have a customized plan for each individual, but you have a very systematic plan that is mostly automated for you so that you have a successful program in place. Okay, I'm going to stop my play attention sharing here and go back. Now, there we go. We just looked at all of the features or many of the features within play attention. So then when you're thinking about how you're going to incorporate play attention into your practice, you can work one-on-one. So if you purchase a play attention professional system and you start with that one system, then you have one body wave armband, but you have an unlimited user license. So you can work with as many clients throughout the day that you can, depending on how often you have clients coming in throughout the day. You'll just schedule them. So you might work with one client from 3 to 3:40, the next client from 4 to 4:40, however you schedule your time. But you can enroll as many clients into your program as needed. Now, we also have iLab available, and iLab is important if you plan to expand your program and offer small group work so that you're working with clients in your office, and you might be working instead of one-on-one. You may be working with clients that are, you might have a session with 10 different clients, and that's iLab. Now, also iLab is really effective if you're going to be doing distance training. So let's say that your clients are not going to come to your office, but you're going to offer distance training, then you can do that with iLab. That feature actually incorporates, it's kind of like we've incorporated Zoom into our play attention system. So you will be able to do video and audio chat right from play attention. You can see them as they work through their sessions live. You'll have live streaming data that Sheer Genius is giving you. It'll say Pam just logged in and she's been working on attention stamina for 4 minutes. She is 70% attentive. It will also say if someone's sitting idle so that you know to address them. So a lot of powerful features that allows you to not only work with small groups, but offer that distance training. And if you're interested in learning more about iLab, that is a whole nother conversation because there's so many features involved in that. So I do recommend that you schedule for a consultation so that we can take you through all of those features and learn a little bit more about your specific setting. Are you hybrid? Are you working with some clients in your office and some clients are working at a distance? How we can incorporate that into your play attention system or setting. All right. Now, in addition to the play attention, um, that I'm sorry, I just paused there for a moment because I thought someone had a question. Not in addition to your play attention program, we also have a certified provider program available to you. And this is an option. This is an add-on, and it is an optional add-on. The reason we offer this is because we have so many professionals who are great at working with clients students. And when it comes to marketing their program and getting the information out there, marketing is a whole nother profession, right? And it can be very time consuming and it can be expensive. So we've packaged a marketing plan for you, and that includes a lot of really beneficial materials. So first, when you start the certified provider program, you will have access to our online training portal. So you'll go in there and you'll go through our online training, and our online training teaches you how to effectively demonstrate and present play attention to your community. And so that is really an important part of getting the word out and letting others know what you offer. And so you'll have access to that. Once you pass that certification test, then you will have access to all of our play attention trademarks, logos, copyrighted materials. You'll have access to our certified provider portal where you can log in and you'll be able to download bundles with lots of information that will give you um, materials that you can just simply take and post your contact information on, and then put on your social media or provide a webinar, whatever it may be. And so it just really streamlines that marketing process for you. And every single month, you'll receive a bundle in that portal. And it always has a theme. So, for example, we had one month where we did a rejection sensitive dysphoria and ADHD theme. So, all of our certified providers received social media posts that they could just put their contact information on, ebooks, webinars with the full script. So all of this is bundled so that you can focus on working with your clients. I hope you enjoyed this session. I hope you learned a lot. And we look forward to helping you incorporate a successful play attention program into your practice very soon. Thanks so much, everyone. Take care.